Don't worry. Finish your meeting.
My name's Jaden, and I thought I was being the perfect husband. Turns out I was just being the perfect Mark. My wife Cassidy had been working late constantly for months. Always the same text. Working late again? Don't wait up. Sorry, babe. I'd gotten used to eating dinner alone, going to bed alone, basically living like a single guy who happened to share a mortgage with someone I barely saw anymore. Being the romantic idiot I am, I decided to surprise her at her office with her favorite meal. We're talking full production here. Lemon herb salmon with fancy Mediterranean marinade, garlic rice that smelled like heaven, hand-trimmed green beans. Spent 2 solid hours in the kitchen like I was auditioning for MasterChef. This was the same meal I'd made for our second anniversary, back when she still pretended to appreciate the effort. I packed everything in those fancy wedding gift containers we'd never actually used, drove across town rehearsing my surprise entrance. Her office building was one of those sleek glass towers that screams, "We make more money than you," from every surface. Security guard Frank knew me by now, nice guy who always asked about my carpentry work. The elevator ride to the 14th floor felt longer than usual. I kept adjusting the bag, making sure everything was still warm. I could see light under her door, hear voices. Probably a conference call, I thought. I didn't knock. Why would I? I was her husband bringing her favorite meal. I turned the handle and pushed the door open with my shoulder, already smiling. That's when my entire world packed up and moved to a different zip code. There she was, Cassidy Reed, who wore my ring and shared my last name. She was on her desk, not sitting at it, but actually on it. Skirt hiked up, blouse half unbuttoned, legs wrapped around Martin Durrell, her boss. This guy who looked like he stepped out of a cologne ad and probably spent more on hair products than I made in a month. His hands were gripping her waist like she was something he owned. Her hands were tangled in his perfectly styled hair while they kissed with the kind of passion that definitely wasn't discussing quarterly reports. The bag slipped from my fingers. Neither of them saw me, too busy being the worst kind of cliché. I stood there for an eternity, watching my wife participate in her work emergency. I didn't speak. What was I supposed to say? "Excuse me, you're sitting on my wife?" Instead, I turned around, walked out, and pulled the door shut with quiet precision. But here's where I surprised myself. I didn't fall apart. Sitting in my driveway staring at a house that suddenly felt like someone else's property, I had absolute clarity. I wasn't going to be the pathetic husband begging for explanations. I was going to take control. I went full nuclear. First, online banking. Every joint account we had, checking, savings, that emergency fund for our someday Europe vacation, transferred to my personal account faster than you could say Infidelity. Then the credit cards. Oh, Cassidy loved those credit cards like personal shopping assistants. Every card she had access to canceled. Joint cards, authorized user cards, even that stupid store card. All gone. My phone buzzed with confirmations. Account transfer of $47,332 completed. Each notification felt like a small victory, but I wasn't done. I'm a carpenter by trade, which means I know locks. Within 30 minutes, every lock on our house had been rekeyed with spare hardware from my truck. Then the digital purge, email passwords, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime, changed every password on every account with my name attached. My phone started ringing. Cassidy. I watched her contact photo, some Christmas selfie where we both looked happy, light up the screen 4 times before I turned the damn thing off. I couldn't stay there. The house felt contaminated, every room poisoned with retroactive betrayal. Texted my best friend Tyson. "I'm coming over, don't ask questions." His response, "Doors open, beer's cold." I packed a bag, left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter next to the coffee maker where she'd see it every morning. No note, no explanation. Just the ring sitting there like a period at the end of a sentence. Tyson's bachelor pad felt more like home than my actual home had in months. He opened the door before I knocked, took one look at my face, stepped aside without a word. Real friendship. knowing when someone needs space before sympathy. "Rough night?" he asked, settling into his recliner with two ice-cold Budweisers. "Found Cassidy playing tonsil hockey with her boss on her office desk." Tyson nearly choked on his beer. "Jesus Christ, man, are you serious?" "Dead serious." Walked in expecting to surprise her with dinner. Got surprised with dinner and a show instead. I ran through everything I'd done. The bank accounts, credit cards, locks, passwords. With each item, Tyson's expression shifted from concern to something that looked like pride. "Damn, Jaden, you don't mess around when you're pissed off." "I'm not pissed off," I said, realizing I meant it. "I'm done." "There's a difference." Called a lawyer the next morning. Camila Rivers. Tyson's recommendation. Complete shark who specialized in making sure cheating spouses didn't profit from betrayal. She picked up on the first ring. "Miss Rivers, my name is Jaden Reed. I need to file for divorce, and I need to do it right." "Infidelity?" she asked, cutting straight to the chase. I told her everything. The discovery, the financial moves, the systematic dismantling of our shared life. When I finished, she was quiet. "Mr. Reed, in 20 years of family law, I can count on one hand the number of clients who've shown this level of strategic thinking in the first 24 hours. Most people spend weeks crying into their coffee, making emotional decisions that hurt their case later. I'm not most people." "No, you're not, and that's going to work in your favor." Within a week, I was feeling like I had control. The lawyer was handling paperwork. I'd avoided Cassidy's desperate calls, even sleeping through the night. That's when I got a message from someone I barely knew. Marley Shaw, who worked with Cassidy. Marketing coordinator I'd met once at the company Christmas party. The message was short. "You deserve to see this." Attached was a screenshot that made my blood freeze. Text conversation between Cassidy and Martin, timestamp showing 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks before I caught them. Martin: "When are you going to tell him?" Cassidy: "Not yet. The mortgage is almost paid off. Another 6 months, maybe 8. Martin: "I hate this sneaking around." Cassidy: "Just be patient. Let Jaden pay off the house, then I'll file. Half of everything becomes mine anyway." Martin: "What if he finds out?" Cassidy: "He won't. He's too trusting, too busy trying to be the perfect husband to notice what's happening right under his nose." Martin: "And after?" Cassidy: "After we can stop pretending. I'll have the house equity, half the savings, alimony. If I play it right, we can do whatever we want." I read it 3 times before my brain processed what I was looking at. This wasn't some spontaneous affair. This was a calculated, cold-blooded, long-term plan to use me as a personal ATM while she built a new life with her boss. Just let Jaden pay off the mortgage. Like I was some useful idiot whose only purpose was clearing debt so she could cash out. Too trusting. Too busy trying to be the perfect husband. She'd been laughing at me for months while I cooked dinner and worried about why she seemed distant. I forwarded the screenshot to Camilla before I finished reading it the 3rd time. Her response: "This changes everything. Can you meet me in an hour?" At Camilla's office, she had the screenshot printed and spread across her desk like evidence in a homicide trial. "Mr. Reed, this is what we call a smoking gun. Intent to defraud. Premeditated financial manipulation. Evidence of conspiracy to commit infidelity for financial gain. This doesn't just help your case, this decimates hers." What does this mean practically? It means we're not just filing for divorce anymore. We're going after her for fraud. She used deception to maintain access to marital assets while planning to leave the marriage. That's textbook financial misuse. Her smile was sharp. She's not getting half of anything. If we play this right, she might be lucky to walk away with her car and clothes. We filed not just for divorce, but for fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. We demanded full ownership of the house, reimbursement for all marital funds she'd misappropriated, and punitive damages. What she did isn't just grounds for divorce, Mr. Reed. It's potentially criminal fraud. She used false pretenses to obtain and misuse marital assets with intent to permanently deprive you of your property. Had the papers served at her office during peak business hours? Maximum workplace visibility. Seemed fitting that the scene of her betrayal should also be the scene of her consequences. I parked across the street, watching the process server walk through those glass doors at exactly 2 p.m. 20 minutes later, he walked back out and gave me a thumbs up. But I wasn't done. I wanted to see her reaction myself. Took the same elevator to the 14th floor. Her office door was open. People gathered around trying to figure out what legal drama had invaded their workplace. There she was, sitting at that same desk where she'd been kissing Martin, holding a manila envelope and looking like someone had scheduled the apocalypse. Her face was pale, hands shaking as she read through papers demanding financial restitution for fraud, punitive damages, and detailed accounting of every dollar she'd spent on her affair. Martin stood behind her with the expression of someone finally understanding that sleeping with a married woman wasn't just morally questionable, it was potentially legally expensive. I could see the moment he realized his name was mentioned as a co-conspirator. "What does this mean?" I heard him ask, voice tight with panic. "It means we're screwed, Martin," Cassidy replied, voice breaking. "It means he knows everything." That's when she looked up and saw me standing in the hallway watching her world collapse. Our eyes met across the busy office space. Just her and me, the woman who'd planned to destroy my life, and the man who'd knocking her to the punch. I didn't say anything, just stood there, let her see that I was calm, controlled, completely unbroken. Then I smiled. Not cruel, not angry, just the satisfied smile of someone who'd finally gotten justice. Then I turned around and left her to explain to her coworkers why a process server had just delivered papers accusing her of running a months-long fraud scheme against her own husband. The house sold in 6 days. I kept almost nothing. My tools, my truck, 3 pieces of furniture. Everything else went to charity or the curb. The dining room set we'd saved for, the living room furniture we'd picked together, all had to go. The hardest part was the photos. Wedding pictures, vacation shots, candid moments from 3 years of documented lies. I spent an afternoon going through them like watching a documentary about someone else's life. I kept exactly 1 photo. Not because I missed her, but because I needed to remember what lies look like when they're smiling at you. Bought a loft downtown above a coffee shop called Grind Coffee. Exposed brick walls, huge windows, and most importantly, it was mine. No shared mortgage, no joint lease. After 3 years of everything being ours, the concept of mine felt revolutionary. That's where I met Sierra Thorne. I was carrying garbage downstairs when I nearly collided with a woman carrying 50 pounds of coffee beans. "You must be the new tenant," she said. "I'm Sierra. I run the cafe downstairs." "Jaden, just moved in." "Sorry about the noise. Still figuring out which floorboards creak." "Trust me, I sleep through everything, including the espresso machine directly below my apartment." She paused. "Wait, are you the guy who's been ordering black coffee every morning at exactly 7:15? Guilty. Is that a problem?" "Not at all. I was impressed by the consistency." She picked up the coffee bag again. Although I have to ask, black coffee, no cream, no sugar. I like things simple these days. Something in my tone suggested there was a story. She gave me a look that was part curiosity, part understanding. Fair enough. Simple's underrated. We'd been doing this careful dance for 3 months. Progression from neighbor small talk to actual friendship to something that felt like the beginning of something real. She'd started saving me a maple bourbon latte every morning. I'd started showing up early to help move supplies. Last week, Cassidy sent me a box of mementos from our marriage. Cardboard box on my doormat with a note. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I found these things while packing. I thought you might want them. I just didn't want to forget what we had, even if it wasn't real for me the way it was for you." Even her apology was a backhanded insult, suggesting I was some emotional simpleton who'd been genuinely invested while she ran a con. Sierra found me staring at the box, offered moral support. "Sometimes It helps to have someone else there to remind you that whatever's in that box, it's just stuff. It can't actually hurt you unless you let it. We opened it together over coffee. Photos, letters I'd written her, ticket stubs, pressed flowers, all the mementos people collect when they think they're building something permanent instead of being systematically dismantled. Looking at these photos was like watching a movie where you know the twist ending. Every smile looked fake, every tender moment calculated, every expression of love seemed like performance art. You know what's funny? I told Sierra, closing the letter without finishing it. I thought this would hurt more, but it doesn't. It just looks like evidence from someone else's life. I picked up one photo, Christmas morning selfie, both of us smiling like the happiest couple in the world. I'm keeping this one. Really? Why? Because I need to remember what a lie looks like when it's smiling at you. Everything else went back in the box, destined for the dumpster. But first, I went to my workshop and came back with a small wooden box I'd been working on. Reclaimed barnwood with dovetail joints and brass latch. This is for the things that actually matter, I said, showing Sierra what was inside. The lease to my apartment, business cards from new clients, a photo of me and Tyson, the receipt from our first real date. You're starting a new collection, Sierra said. I'm starting a new life. And this time I'm only keeping the real stuff. I handed her the box. This is yours if you want it, for all the moments we're going to build together, the real ones. She took the box like it was made of something precious, which it was: hope, trust, the kind of faith only possible after learning the difference between what's real and what's performance. Update. Cassidy tried fighting initially, but her lawyer basically told her she was screwed with that screenshot evidence. She settled for almost nothing, kept her car, some personal items, whatever was in her personal accounts. No house equity, no alimony, and she had to pay my legal fees. Martin got fired when their company discovered the affair was affecting workplace dynamics. The system worked exactly like it should when you document everything and don't let emotions drive decisions. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is discovering who someone really is before they can destroy you completely. I'm with someone real now, in a place that's actually mine, with a life built on truth instead of lies. Best thing that ever happened was catching Cassidy on that desk. Not because I enjoyed it, but because it finally showed me who I'd really been married to all along.